In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the bustling trade routes and glittering hubs of advanced civilizations, something unusual caught the attention of an alien scout ship. The vessel belonged to the Vraxians, a cautious and highly intelligent species known for their sleek, silver ships and their preference for observation over confrontation. As the scout ship drifted closer to the source of the anomaly, its sensors picked up faint traces of energy, a signature unlike anything they had encountered before. The object of interest turned out to be a derelict human spacecraft, floating silently through the void. Its hull was battered, scared by what appeared to be intense combat. Pieces of debris surrounded it, remnants of a battle long since ended. Commander Lyrak, the leader of the Vraxian scouting team, ordered his crew to investigate further. Though the ship seemed abandoned, it still emitted faint life support signals, suggesting that someone, or something, might have survived. When the Vraxians boarded the vessel, they found no living beings aboard. Instead, they discovered a trove of artifacts left behind by the ship's former occupants. There were weapons scattered across the floor, some primitive in design, others surprisingly sophisticated. Personal belongings, like photographs and handwritten notes, hinted at the lives of those who had once called this ship home. Most intriguing of all was a journal belonging to Captain Daniel Hayes, whose entries painted a vivid picture of humanity's struggles and triumphs. The journal spoke of battles fought against overwhelming odds, of alliances forged in desperation, and of sacrifices made for the sake of survival. One passage described how Captain Hayes and his crew had faced down a superior enemy force, using clever tactics and sheer determination to hold their ground until reinforcements arrived. Another entry detailed the crew's efforts to repair their damaged ship while stranded in deep space, showcasing their ingenuity and resourcefulness. Each page revealed more about this mysterious species, leaving the Vraxians both fascinated and unsettled. As Commander Lyrak read through the journal, he couldn't help but feel a mix of admiration and unease. Humanity, it seemed, was not just another race struggling to survive in the harshness of space. They were fighters, driven by an unyielding will to persevere no matter the cost. Their methods were often brutal, their strategies chaotic, but there was an undeniable brilliance to their approach. Even in defeat, they refused to give up, always finding ways to adapt and endure. Back on the scout ship, the crew debated what to make of their discovery. Some argued that humans could pose a significant threat if provoked, given their apparent skill in warfare and their willingness to take risks. Others believed that such tenacity might make them valuable allies, especially in a galaxy filled with hostile forces. Whatever the case, one thing was clear. Humanity was unlike any species the Vraxians had encountered before. Commander Lyrak decided to report his findings to the Vraxian High Council. He included recordings salvaged from the human ship, which showed scenes of fierce combat and impassioned speeches. In one clip, a young woman named Lieutenant Emily Dawson stood amidst the rubble of a devastated battlefield, rallying her exhausted comrades. "We fight because we have to," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "But we win because we choose to." These words resonated deeply with the Vraxians, who valued logic and strategy above all else. Yet here was a species that relied not only on intellect, but also on emotion, on hope, courage, and an almost irrational belief in their ability to overcome adversity. It was a quality that baffled and intrigued them in equal measure. As the scout ship departed, leaving the derelict vessel behind, Commander Lyrak couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's story was far from over. Whether as friends or foes, these strange beings would undoubtedly leave their mark on the galaxy, and perhaps, he thought, that was exactly why they were so frightening. The Vraxian High Council gathered in their grand chamber, a vast room illuminated by soft, pulsating lights that reflected off the polished metallic walls. The atmosphere was tense as Commander Lyrak presented his findings about the mysterious human species. He projected holographic images of the derelict ship, its battered hull telling a story of survival against incredible odds. The recordings he had brought back played on a large screen, showing humans fighting with fierce determination and shouting words of defiance, even when faced with certain doom. The council members watched silently, their elongated faces unreadable, but their glowing eyes betraying hints of curiosity. One elder named Zeltrin leaned forward, his voice deep and measured. These creatures, they are small, fragile compared to us, yet they fight as if driven by something beyond logic. Another counselor, Kryn, chimed in, her tone sharp. Logic is what keeps civilizations stable. Passion like this, chaos, unpredictability, it could destabilize entire systems. Despite their concerns, there was an undeniable admiration in the room. The humans' ability to adapt, to create tools and strategies out of nothing, reminded the Vraxians of their own early days as a species. But unlike the Vraxians, who valued caution and diplomacy, humanity seemed to thrive on risk and bold action. It was both inspiring and unsettling. After much debate, the Council decided to send an envoy to Earth. Their goal was simple: learn more about humanity before deciding whether to form an alliance or take steps to neutralize them as a potential threat. They chose Ambassador Trellis, a seasoned diplomat known for her calm demeanor and sharp mind. Accompanying her would be a team of scientists and security personnel, all tasked with gathering information while maintaining a peaceful presence. When the Vraxian envoy arrived near Earth, they transmitted a signal announcing their intentions. Humans, still wary after centuries of conflict among themselves, responded with caution. Secretary of Defense Matthew Brooks assembled a team to meet the aliens, including Dr. Laura Kim, a linguist specializing in alien communication. She had spent years preparing for such an encounter, studying theories about extraterrestrial life and developing methods to bridge cultural gaps. The meeting took place in a remote area outside Washington, D.C., chosen for its security and accessibility. When the Vraxians emerged from their sleek, silver ship, gasps rippled through the human delegation. The aliens stood nearly 8 feet tall, their skin shimmering with bioluminescent patterns that shifted subtly with their emotions. Their large, almond-shaped eyes scanned the surroundings with keen interest. For many humans present, it was the first time they had seen an alien up close, and the sight filled them with equal parts awe and fear. Ambassador Trellis stepped forward, her movements graceful and deliberate. Through a translator device created by Dr. Kim, she spoke in a melodic yet firm voice. "We come seeking understanding," she said. "Your species has shown qualities we find intriguing. We wish to know more." Secretary Brooks nodded, doing his best to appear composed despite the weight of the moment. "We welcome you," he replied. "But trust must be earned on both sides." Over the following weeks, the two groups exchanged knowledge cautiously. The Vraxians shared insights into their advanced technology, while humans offered glimpses of their history and culture. Dr. Kim worked tirelessly to decode the nuances of Vraxian language and customs, finding parallels between their philosophies and human values like cooperation and perseverance. Still, mistrust lingered beneath the surface. Some human military leaders worried that revealing too much about Earth's capabilities could put humanity at a disadvantage. Meanwhile, the Vraxians debated whether humans' emotional nature made them too unpredictable to trust fully. One evening, during a break in negotiations, Ambassador Trellis approached Dr. Kim. "Tell me," she asked, her translator humming softly, "why do your people fight so fiercely? Even when victory seems impossible, you continue to resist." Dr. Kim hesitated, searching for the right words. "It's not just about winning," she finally said. "For us, fighting is about protecting what matters: our families, our future, our freedom. No matter how hard things get, we believe there's always a chance to make things better." Trellis tilted her head, her glowing patterns shifting in thought. "A dangerous belief," she murmured, "but perhaps a powerful one." As the days passed, both sides began to see glimpses of common ground. Humanity's resilience intrigued the Vraxians, while the aliens' wisdom and technological prowess impressed the humans. Yet neither group forgot the stakes of their interaction. In the vastness of space, alliances could mean survival, or betrayal could mean destruction. The interactions between the humans and the Vraxians grew more frequent as days turned into weeks. Each meeting brought new revelations, but also new challenges. The Vraxians were fascinated by humanity's history, particularly its wars and conflicts. They found it difficult to understand why a species would repeatedly turn on itself, yet they couldn't ignore the lessons those struggles had taught humans. For their part, the humans marveled at the Vraxians' advanced technology, though some worried that sharing too much of Earth's own advancements might tip the balance of power in unpredictable ways. One afternoon, Ambassador Trellis requested a deeper dive into human behavior. She asked Secretary Brooks to arrange a session where ordinary people, soldiers, scientists, and civilians, could share their personal stories. Brooks agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to showcase humanity's complexity. He gathered a small group, including Lieutenant Emily Dawson, who had survived countless battles, and Professor Rachel Monroe, a historian known for her work on global conflicts. The gathering took place in a modest conference room, far from the formal settings of previous meetings. The Vraxians sat quietly, observing the humans with intense curiosity. Lieutenant Dawson was the first to speak. Her voice was steady, but there was a raw honesty in her words. "War isn't just about weapons or strategies," she began. "It's about the people you fight for. The ones waiting for you back home. When everything feels lost, you remember their faces and somehow you find the strength to keep going." Her story resonated with the Vraxians, especially Ambassador Trellis, whose glowing patterns shifted in what Dr. Kim interpreted as empathy. Next, Professor Monroe spoke, her tone calm and measured. She described how humanity had faced extinction-level events, natural disasters, pandemics, and nuclear threats, only to rise again stronger than before. "We've made mistakes," she admitted, "but we've also learned. Every failure has taught us something new, something better." As the humans shared their experiences, the Vraxians began to see a pattern. Humanity wasn't defined by its victories or defeats. It was defined by its refusal to give up. Even in the darkest moments, when all hope seemed lost, humans found ways to adapt, innovate, and endure. This resilience intrigued the Vraxians, who valued stability above all else. To them, change was often seen as disruptive, even dangerous. But here was a species that thrived on change, using it as fuel to grow stronger. Despite the growing mutual respect, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Some members of the human delegation, particularly General Stephen Rivera, remained skeptical of the Vraxians' intentions. Rivera had spent decades preparing for the possibility of alien contact, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the Vraxians were holding something back. During one private conversation with Dr. Kim, he voiced his concerns. "They're studying us like lab rats," he said bluntly. "What happens when they decide we're not worth keeping around?" Dr. Kim didn't have an answer. She wanted to believe the Vraxians were sincere, but she understood Rivera's caution. Trust, after all, was a fragile thing, especially when two vastly different species were trying to bridge the gap between them. Meanwhile, the Vraxians debated among themselves. Some argued that humanity's unpredictability made them a potential threat. Others believed that forming an alliance could benefit both species, especially given the growing rumors of hostile forces lurking in uncharted regions of the galaxy. Ambassador Trellis listened to these discussions carefully, weighing the pros and cons. She knew that whatever decision they made would shape the future of interstellar relations. Back on Earth, the meetings continued, each one bringing the two species closer to understanding, or further apart. One evening, as the sun set over the horizon, Dr. Kim stood outside the conference building, staring at the stars. A Vraxian scientist named Vorin joined her, his bioluminescent skin casting a soft glow in the twilight. "Do you think we'll ever truly understand each other?" he asked, his translator humming softly. Dr. Kim smiled faintly. "Maybe not completely," she replied, "but I think we're off to a good start." Vorin nodded, his patterns shifting in what might have been agreement. In that moment, under the vast expanse of the night sky, the two species stood side by side, united by curiosity and the shared hope of finding common ground. The meetings between humans and Vraxians had grown more frequent, but the air of caution still lingered. Both sides were learning, but trust remained fragile. One day, Ambassador Trellis proposed an exercise to test humanity's problem-solving abilities. She presented a hypothetical scenario. An alien race called the Krythons, known for their aggression and advanced weaponry, was planning to invade Earth. The question was simple: how would humanity respond? General Stephen Rivera, who had been quietly observing the discussions, stepped forward. His presence commanded attention, even among the towering Vraxians. "If we're going to talk about war," he said, his voice firm, "then let's talk about strategy." He grabbed a nearby tablet and began sketching out a plan, his movements quick and decisive. Rivera explained that the key to surviving an invasion wasn't brute force, it was creativity. "The Krythons are stronger and faster," he said, "but they're predictable. They rely on overwhelming power. We'll use that against them." He outlined a multi-layered approach. First, small teams of soldiers would launch surprise attacks behind enemy lines, targeting supply depots and communication hubs. These guerrilla tactics would disrupt the Krythons' operations and force them to spread their forces thin. Next, Rivera suggested using psychological warfare. "Fear is a weapon," he said. "We'll make them doubt their own strength. Fake broadcasts, decoy ships, anything to confuse them." Finally, he emphasized the importance of alliances. "We don't fight alone. There are weaker species in the galaxy who fear the Krythons just as much as we do. If we can unite them under one banner, we turn this from a battle into a war of survival. For everyone." The room fell silent as Rivera finished speaking. Even the Vraxians, who prided themselves on their logic and strategy, seemed impressed. Ambassador Trellis exchanged glances with her team, her glowing patterns shifting in thought. "Your methods are unconventional," she admitted, "but they show a level of adaptability we rarely see." Dr. Laura Kim watched the exchange with a mix of pride and unease. She admired Rivera's brilliance, but she also knew that such bold strategies carried risks. Would the Vraxians see humanity's ingenuity as a strength or a threat? She decided to steer the conversation toward collaboration. "What if we worked together?" she suggested. "Your technology combined with our tactics could create something neither of us could achieve alone." The idea sparked interest among the Vraxians. Vorin, the scientist who had bonded with Dr. Kim, nodded enthusiastically. "It's worth exploring," he said. "Perhaps this alliance could extend beyond Earth. A united front might deter other hostile species as well." As the discussion continued, Lieutenant Emily Dawson added her perspective. "It's not just about plans or weapons," she said. "It's about people. Soldiers need to believe in what they're fighting for. Civilians need to feel protected. Without that, no strategy will work." Her words struck a chord, reminding everyone in the room that wars weren't won by machines. They were won by hearts and minds. By the end of the session, both humans and Vraxians felt a renewed sense of purpose. The exercise had shown them that despite their differences, they shared a common goal: survival. For the Vraxians, it was a lesson in flexibility and innovation. For the humans, it was proof that even in the face of superior foes, their resourcefulness could tip the scales in their favor. That evening, as the humans prepared to leave the conference building, Ambassador Trellis approached Rivera. "You've given us much to consider," she said. "Your species is remarkable. Unpredictable, yes, but also resilient. Perhaps that is why you are so feared and respected." Rivera met her gaze, his expression unreadable. "Respect is earned," he replied. "And fear? Fear only lasts until you realize we're not backing down." The two stood there for a moment, the weight of their words hanging in the air. Though challenges lay ahead, a foundation of mutual understanding was beginning to form. In the vastness of space, where danger lurked around every corner, Humanity's determination had begun to shine, not as a beacon of destruction, but as a light of hope. The Vraxians requested another meeting, this time to hear more stories from humanity's past. They wanted to understand not just the strategies and technologies that had shaped human history, but the emotions and values behind them. Dr. Laura Kim arranged for a series of presentations, inviting individuals who could share personal experiences and insights. Among those chosen were Sergeant Jason Cole, a decorated veteran of multiple conflicts, and Professor Rachel Monroe, whose expertise in global history gave her a unique perspective on humanity's resilience. The gathering took place in a large auditorium designed to accommodate both species comfortably. The humans sat on one side, while the Vraxians occupied the other, their towering forms casting long shadows under the soft glow of the overhead lights. Ambassador Trellis opened the session with a brief statement. "Your species fascinates us," she said, "not because of your weapons or machines, but because of your spirit. Tell us what drives you." Sergeant Cole was the first to speak. A grizzled man in his late 40s, he carried himself with quiet confidence. His voice was steady as he recounted his experiences fighting in deserts, jungles, and urban ruins. "War isn't glamorous," he began. "It's dirty, exhausting, and it takes everything from you. But there's something inside every soldier, a reason to keep going. For me, it was my team. We weren't just soldiers, we were family. When one of us fell, we picked each other up. That's how we survived." As he spoke, images of battlefields flickered on a screen behind him. Photos of soldiers helping wounded comrades, building makeshift shelters, and sharing meals amidst chaos. The Vraxians watched intently, their glowing patterns shifting subtly in response. Ambassador Trellis leaned forward slightly, her curiosity evident. "You risk your lives for others," she observed. "Even when survival seems unlikely, you continue to protect one another." Cole nodded. "That's what makes us human," he said simply. "We fight not because we want to, but because we have to. And we don't give up, not on each other, and not on ourselves." Next, Professor Monroe took the stage. Her tone was calm and measured as she delved into humanity's broader history. She spoke of civilizations that had risen and fallen, only to be rebuilt by those who refused to let their culture die. She described how humans had faced natural disasters, plagues, and wars, yet always found ways to adapt and persevere. "We've made mistakes," she admitted. "We've destroyed our own lands, waged unnecessary wars, and hurt one another. But we've also learned. Every failure taught us something new, how to be better, stronger, wiser." Her words resonated deeply with the Vraxians, who valued knowledge above all else. One council member named Zeltrin raised a question through the translator device. "How do you balance progress with destruction? Your advancements often come at great cost." Monroe smiled faintly. "It's not easy," she replied. "But that's part of being human. We stumble, we fall, and then we get back up. Our ability to learn from our mistakes is what keeps us moving forward." Throughout the session, the Vraxians listened carefully, their expressions unreadable but their fascination clear. They were beginning to see humanity not as a mere collection of individuals, but as a tapestry woven from countless acts of courage, sacrifice, and determination. Even General Stephen Rivera, who had initially been skeptical of the Vraxians' intentions, found himself moved by the stories. He realized that these aliens weren't just studying humanity, they were trying to connect with it. As the meeting drew to a close, Ambassador Trellis stood once more. "Thank you," she said sincerely. "Your stories remind us that strength isn't just about power or technology. It's about heart. You've shown us that even in the face of despair, hope can endure." The humans exchanged glances, some smiling, others nodding in agreement. Though they still didn't fully trust the Vraxians, moments like this built bridges where none had existed before. In the quiet aftermath of the meeting, Dr. Kim couldn't help but feel a sense of optimism. Humanity wasn't perfect, but its flaws were matched by its boundless potential. And perhaps, she thought, that was something worth sharing with the stars. As the days passed, the relationship between humans and Vraxians grew more complex. While there were moments of mutual understanding, doubts lingered on both sides. The Vraxian High Council convened privately to discuss their observations. Some members, like Zeltran, argued that humanity's adaptability and resilience made them ideal allies. Others, particularly Kryn, remained skeptical. Their unpredictability is a risk, she said firmly. They act on emotion rather than reason. How can we trust them? Ambassador Trellis listened carefully, her glowing patterns shifting as she considered the arguments. She had come to admire humanity's determination, but she understood Kryn's concerns. Humans were capable of incredible acts of kindness and courage, but they were also prone to conflict and destruction. Could such a volatile species truly be trusted with the secrets of the galaxy? Back on Earth, similar debates raged within military and government circles. General Stephen Rivera voiced his unease during a private meeting with Secretary Matthew Brooks. "These aliens are watching us like predators circling prey," he said bluntly. "We're sharing too much too soon. What happens when they decide we're no longer useful?" Brooks sighed, rubbing his temples. He shared some of Rivera's concerns, but he also believed that cooperation was humanity's best chance for survival. "We don't have a choice," he replied. "If the Krythons are really out there, we'll need all the help we can get. The Vraxians might be cautious, but at least they're talking to us." Meanwhile, Dr. Laura Kim worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between the two species. She spent hours analyzing data provided by the Vraxians, searching for clues about their true intentions. One evening, while reviewing star charts and energy signatures, she noticed something unusual, a faint trail of readings suggesting the presence of an unknown fleet near Earth's solar system. At first, she thought it might be a glitch, but further analysis confirmed her fears. The Krythons were real, and they were closer than anyone had anticipated. Kim immediately reported her findings to Secretary Brooks, who called an emergency meeting with the Vraxian delegation. When Ambassador Trellis heard the news, her usual calm demeanor faltered. "This is worse than we feared," she admitted. "The Krythons are ruthless. They will not stop until they have conquered every world in their path." The revelation sent shockwaves through both groups. For the first time, humans and Vraxians found themselves united by a common threat. Plans were quickly drawn up to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. General Rivera took charge of Earth's defenses, implementing strategies inspired by his earlier presentation. Decoy ships were deployed, communication networks fortified, and alliances sought with neighboring species. Despite the urgency, tensions persisted. Some human officers questioned whether the Vraxians would fully commit to defending Earth or if they would prioritize their own survival. Similarly, certain Vraxian leaders worried that humanity's impulsiveness might lead to reckless decisions during the battle. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, small acts of trust began to emerge. Lieutenant Emily Dawson worked closely with Vorin, the Vraxian scientist, to develop countermeasures against Krython technology. Their collaboration led to breakthroughs neither species could have achieved alone. "You humans are surprising," Vorin remarked one day, his translator humming softly. "Your creativity knows no bounds." Dawson smiled faintly. "And your logic keeps us grounded," she replied. "Maybe we balance each other out." Even Ambassador Trellis found herself growing more optimistic. She had initially viewed humanity as a potential liability, but now she saw their value, not just as warriors, but as partners. During a quiet moment, she approached Dr. Kim. "Your species is remarkable," she said. "Chaotic, yes, but also full of hope. Perhaps that is why you are so dangerous and so inspiring." Kim nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Hope can be a weapon," she said, "but only if we use it wisely." As preparations continued, the looming threat of the Krythons forced both humans and Vraxians to set aside their differences. Though challenges remained, a fragile bond had begun to form. In the face of overwhelming odds, they realized they had no choice but to stand together, or fall apart. Amid the growing tension and preparation for the Krithan threat, a young scientist named Olivia Grant emerged as an unexpected hero. Working in a lab buried deep beneath a military facility, Olivia had been analyzing data shared by the Vraxians. Her focus was on energy signatures, hoping to find patterns that could give humanity an edge against their looming enemy. Quiet and unassuming, Olivia didn't often speak up in meetings, but her sharp mind and relentless determination made her invaluable. One late night, as she sifted through streams of alien information, something caught her attention, a faint but consistent anomaly in the energy readings. At first, she thought it might be interference or a flaw in the data. But the more she studied it, the clearer it became. This wasn't random noise. It was a signal, repeated at precise intervals, emanating from the edge of Earth's solar system. Olivia cross-referenced the findings with earlier reports about the Krithan's movements. Her heart raced as she realized what she was looking at. It wasn't just one ship. It was an entire fleet, far larger than anyone had anticipated. Olivia knew she couldn't keep this discovery to herself. She rushed to Secretary Brooks, who was overseeing the joint human-Vraxian efforts. "Sir, we have a problem," she said, her voice steady despite the urgency in her eyes. "The Krithans are closer than we thought, and they're not just passing through. They're planning an invasion." Brooks listened intently as Olivia explained her findings. His expression darkened, but he acted quickly, calling Ambassador Trellis and General Rivera into an emergency meeting. When Olivia presented her evidence, even the usually composed Vraxians showed signs of alarm. "This changes everything," Ambassador Trellis said gravely. "Their numbers are greater than we feared. We must act now." The revelation forced both humans and Vraxians to accelerate their plans. Olivia worked around the clock alongside Vorin, the Vraxian scientist, to develop countermeasures. Together, they devised a strategy to disrupt the Krithan's advanced weaponry using Earth's satellite network. The plan was risky, requiring precise timing and coordination, but it was their best chance to weaken the invaders before they reached Earth. As days turned into nights, Olivia's dedication inspired those around her. Lieutenant Emily Dawson, who had initially dismissed the young scientist as too inexperienced for such high-stakes work, began to see her in a new light. "She's got guts," Dawson admitted to General Rivera during a break. "And brains. If anyone can outsmart the Krithans, it's her." Even the Vraxians grew to admire Olivia's tenacity. Vorin often stayed late in the lab with her, his glowing patterns shifting in what seemed like approval. "Your species is full of surprises," he remarked one evening as they pored over calculations. "You take risks others would avoid. It's admirable." Olivia smiled faintly, though her focus never wavered. "We don't have a choice," she replied. "If we don't try, we lose everything." The collaboration between humans and Vraxians deepened as they prepared for the coming battle. General Rivera coordinated defensive maneuvers, while Ambassador Trellis worked to rally support from other alien species. Meanwhile, Olivia continued refining her plan, knowing that even the smallest mistake could cost countless lives. By the time the Krithan fleet entered Earth's orbit, the combined forces were ready, or as ready as they could be. The tension was palpable, but so was the resolve. Humans and Vraxians stood side by side, united not just by necessity, but by a shared belief in survival and hope. As the first wave of Krithan ships descended, Olivia watched from the command center, her hands trembling slightly. She had done everything she could. Now, it was up to the warriors, human and Vraxian alike, to carry the fight forward. For the first time, she allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. Humanity wasn't perfect, but its ability to adapt, innovate, and persevere had earned the respect of even the most skeptical allies. In the face of overwhelming odds, they had proven themselves capable of greatness, and Olivia Grant had played her part. The Krithan invasion began with a deafening roar as their massive ships descended into Earth's atmosphere. The sky lit up with streaks of fire and bursts of energy, signaling the start of a battle that would determine humanity's fate. Humans and Vraxians sprang into action, their carefully laid plans put to the ultimate test. General Stephen Rivera stood in the command center, barking orders as troops scrambled to their positions. Lieutenant Emily Dawson led her squad onto the front lines, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. The Krithans were relentless, their weapons far more advanced than anything humanity had faced before. Beams of searing energy tore through buildings and defenses, leaving destruction in their wake. But the humans fought back with everything they had: guerrilla tactics, improvised explosives, and sheer determination. Decoy ships launched into the sky, drawing enemy fire away from key targets while ground forces struck at vulnerable points in the invaders' formations. Ambassador Trellis and Vorin coordinated closely with human leaders, ensuring that Vraxian technology was deployed effectively. Energy shields protected critical infrastructure, while precision strikes from Praxian fighters targeted the Krithans' larger vessels. Olivia Grant's plan proved crucial. Her satellite-based countermeasures disrupted the Krithans' targeting systems, giving Earth's forces a fleeting but vital advantage. For the first time, the invaders hesitated, their confidence shaken by the unexpected resistance. Amid the chaos, unlikely bonds formed between humans and Vraxians. Corporal Ethan Blake, a gruff soldier who had once distrusted the aliens, found himself working side by side with a Vraxian engineer named Jorlin. Together, they repaired a damaged communications array under heavy fire. "You're not so bad for a giant bug," Blake joked, his tone light despite the danger. Jorlin's glowing patterns shifted in what might have been amusement. "And you are surprisingly resourceful for such a small creature," he replied through his translator device. Even Captain Daniel Hayes, who had returned to active duty after being rescued from his derelict ship, played a pivotal role. Leading a daring assault on a Krithan landing zone, Hayes and his team destroyed a key supply depot, crippling the invaders' ability to sustain their attack. His leadership inspired those around him, reminding everyone why he had earned his rank. Despite these successes, the cost of the battle was staggering. Cities burned, and countless lives were lost. The command center buzzed with reports of mounting casualties, each update heavier than the last. Secretary Matthew Brooks clenched his fists, his face lined with exhaustion and grief. Yet he refused to give up. "We hold the line," he said firmly, "no matter what." As the hours dragged on, the tide began to turn. Humanity's adaptability and teamwork, combined with Vraxian precision and technology, created a synergy neither species could have achieved alone. The Krithans, expecting an easy victory, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Their superior numbers and firepower meant little against the ingenuity and resilience of their opponents. By dawn, the initial wave of the invasion had been repelled. Exhausted but determined, the Allied forces regrouped to assess the damage and prepare for the next phase. Though the fight was far from over, a sense of cautious hope spread among the survivors. They had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, unity and courage could prevail. General Rivera addressed his troops, his voice hoarse but unwavering. "Today, we showed them what we're made of," he said. "But this isn't just about winning. It's about showing the galaxy that we won't back down. Not today. Not ever." As the sun rose over the battered landscape, the alliance between humans and Vraxians grew stronger. They had fought together, built together, and now stood united. The Krithans had underestimated their enemies, and that mistake would haunt them. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, it was fighting to prove that its spirit could not be broken. As the battle against the Krithans raged on, the Vraxians began to see humanity in a new light. What had once seemed like chaos and unpredictability now appeared as raw determination and ingenuity. The humans didn't fight because they were forced to. They fought because they believed in something greater than themselves. This unwavering spirit fascinated the Vraxians, who had always valued logic and order above all else. Ambassador Trellis reflected on this during a rare moment of calm. She stood beside Dr. Laura Kim, watching the coordinated efforts of human and Vraxian forces from a secure observation post. "Your people are extraordinary," Trellis said softly, her glowing patterns shifting in thought. "You adapt so quickly, even when everything seems lost. How do you find the strength to keep going?" Dr. Kim hesitated before answering. She thought about the countless stories she had heard, from soldiers risking their lives for others to civilians banding together to rebuild shattered communities. "It's not just strength," she finally replied. "It's connection. Humans fight for each other, for family, friends, strangers. We're stronger together than we are alone." Trellis nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. "Unity," she murmured. "That is what makes you formidable. Not your weapons or technology, but your ability to come together despite differences." This realization spread among the Vraxians, influencing their approach to the war. They began working more closely with human units, sharing strategies and resources without hesitation. Vorin, the Vraxian scientist, collaborated with Olivia Grant to refine their countermeasures, while Jorlin helped train human engineers to repair advanced alien equipment. Even those who had initially doubted humanity's reliability now saw them as equals, partners in the struggle for survival. On the battlefield, these bonds grew stronger. Corporal Ethan Blake, once wary of the Vraxians, found himself trusting Jorlin with his life. During one intense skirmish, Jorlin shielded Blake from an incoming blast, his energy-absorbing armor saving both of them. "Why did you do that?" Blake asked later, his voice tinged with awe. Jorlin tilted his head, his translator humming softly. "Because we fight as one," he replied simply. The same unity was evident among the human ranks. Soldiers who had never met before formed tight-knit teams, relying on each other to survive. Lieutenant Emily Dawson led her squad with quiet confidence, her words inspiring even the most weary fighters. "We're not just fighting for Earth," she reminded them. "We're fighting for every world that refuses to bow to fear." General Stephen Rivera echoed this sentiment during a strategy meeting. "The Krithans think they can break us," he said, his voice firm. "But they don't understand what drives us. It's not hatred or revenge, it's hope. And hope is something no weapon can destroy." As days turned into weeks, the combined forces pushed back against the Krithans, reclaiming territory and weakening their grip. Each victory, no matter how small, bolstered morale. Civilians joined the effort too, volunteering to care for the wounded, distribute supplies, and support the troops however they could. Professor Rachel Monroe traveled to shelters, speaking to survivors and reminding them of humanity's resilience. "We've faced darkness before," she told them. "And every time, we found a way to shine." Even Captain Daniel Hayes, who had endured months adrift in space, felt renewed purpose. Leading missions behind enemy lines, he inspired others with his unshakable resolve. "They may be stronger," he said after one particularly grueling operation, "but they'll never be tougher." By the time the Krithans launched their final assault, the alliance between humans and Vraxians was unbreakable. Together, they unleashed a coordinated counterattack, driving the invaders out of Earth's orbit and scattering their fleet. Exhausted but victorious, the survivors gathered to celebrate, not just the win, but the friendships and trust forged in the heat of battle. For the first time, the Vraxians truly understood why humanity was so feared and respected. It wasn't brute force or superior technology that made humans dangerous. It was their heart, their unity, and their refusal to give up. In the vastness of space, where danger lurked at every turn, humanity had proven itself not just as a warrior species, but as a beacon of hope. The defeat of the Krithans marked a turning point not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. As the dust settled and the skies cleared, humanity stood tall alongside their Vraxian allies. The invaders had been driven back, their fleet scattered and broken. Though scars remained, burnt landscapes, ruined cities, and countless lives lost, the victory was undeniable. It was a testament to what could be achieved when two species set aside their differences and worked together. Ambassador Trellis addressed the Vraxian High Council shortly after returning home. Her report painted a vivid picture of humanity's resilience and spirit. "They are unpredictable," she admitted, "but that unpredictability is their greatest strength. They adapt, innovate, and persevere. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, they refuse to surrender." Trellis paused, her glowing patterns shifting as she chose her next words carefully. "If we wish to ensure peace in the galaxy, we must stand with them, not as observers, but as partners." The council listened intently, many of its members visibly moved by her words. For centuries, the Vraxians had prided themselves on their caution and logic, but now they saw the value of emotion, passion, and unity. Humanity's ability to inspire hope, even in the darkest moments, was something they had never encountered before. Slowly, the council began to shift its stance, recognizing that an alliance with humans could benefit both species. On Earth, Secretary Matthew Brooks reflected on the cost of victory. He stood on a hill overlooking the city still smoldering from the battle, his heart heavy with grief. Yet, amidst the ruins, he saw signs of life. People rebuilding homes, planting gardens, and helping one another heal. "We've paid a steep price," he said to General Stephen Rivera, who stood beside him. "But we've also shown the galaxy what we're made of. We don't fight because we want to. We fight because we have to, and because we believe in a better future." Rivera nodded, his expression solemn. "The Krithans underestimated us," he replied. "So did the Vraxians at first. But now they see us for who we really are. And that's more powerful than any weapon." The bond between humans and Vraxians continued to grow in the aftermath of the war. Vorin and Olivia Grant remained close collaborators, working on projects to improve Earth's defenses and share knowledge between their species. Lieutenant Emily Dawson visited schools and military bases, sharing stories of courage and teamwork to inspire the next generation. Even Corporal Ethan Blake, once skeptical of the aliens, became an advocate for cooperation, often recounting how Jorlin had saved his life during the final assault. As word of humanity's triumph spread across the stars, other species took notice. Some approached Earth cautiously, seeking alliances or trade agreements. Others watched from afar, wary of this new player on the galactic stage. But all agreed on one thing: humanity was not to be underestimated. Their tenacity, creativity, and refusal to give up made them a force unlike any other. Captain Daniel Hayes summed it up best during a ceremony honoring the fallen. Standing before a crowd of soldiers, civilians, and Vraxian dignitaries, he spoke with quiet conviction. "We didn't win because we were stronger or smarter," he said. "We won because we stood together, because we believed in each other and in ourselves. That's what makes us dangerous. Not our weapons, but our will to survive, to protect, and to hope." In the end, humanity earned its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as defenders of freedom and resilience. The galaxy would remember them not for their battles, but for their spirit. And though challenges lay ahead, one truth was clear: humanity's story was far from over. In a universe full of uncertainty, they had proven that even the smallest spark of hope could light the way forward.